અરે કેસાબેન
બરાબર આવે છે. મારો ઇયરફોન્સ નીકાળી દો.
આજ તો દેખાવા દે, કઈ વાંધો નથી.
અહીંયા અવાજ આવશે પછી. મિરર ઇમેજ આપવાનો હતો.
હેલો, એક્સ્ટ્રા લાઈટ મૂકી શું અરે તારા મોં પર?
ના અહીંયા ઉપર જ છે.
દાંત તો છે.
ઓ નાઈસ.
ભાઈ પ્રેઝન્ટેશન દેખાય છે ને?
હા દેખાય છે.
તો બી દેખાયું?
હા
બીજી સ્લાઇડ બદલાઈ ફૂલ સ્ક્રીનમાં?
બદલાઈ, આપણો લોગો આવ્યો.
કુલ, ચલો આ રેડી છે. હવે હું વિચારતો હતો કે લોકો આવે. અત્યારે તમને દેખાતું નથી ને હું શું કરું છું?
ના, સ્ક્રીન લોક છે.
હા એટલે પણ તને કંઈક તો દેખાતું હશે ને?
હા એટલે ફર્સ્ટ સ્ક્રીન દેખાય છે, ફર્સ્ટ પેજ દેખાય છે.
ઓકે બસ. તો તને આવી દઈએ.
એવું હોય ને તો બાજુમાં ડમી સ્ક્રીન ચાલુ રાખ.
બસ અત્યારે ચાલશે. દેખાય છે ને તને?
હા ક્લીન દેખાય.
બસ ત્યારે ઉભો રહેતો અને તને અવાજ સંભળાય છે હવે?
ઓડિયો મૂક્યું? હા હવે આવ્યું, પણ ચોંટી ચોંટીને આવે છે.
શું?
ચોંટી ચોંટીને આવે, સાચી વાત છે.
ઓકે અદિતિ લોકો જોઈન થશે હવે એક જ મિનિટમાં.
ઓકે
હાય.
હજી ઓડિયો કનેક્ટ થાય છે.
ઓકે મારું પ્રેઝન્ટેશન તો તમારા લોકો તમે બંને મ્યુટ પર જાઓ.
હેલો, ઓડિયો ઓન છે ઓફ છે એમનો?
ઓન છે.
ઓન છે.
સંભળાતું નથી શું અમને?
અમને તો સંભળાય છે.
ઓકે હવે અમને હવે અવાજ આવ્યો.
ઓકે ઓકે
ઓકે તમારું એકવાર આપણે પ્રેઝન્ટેશન ચેક કરી લઈએ. મેં તમને હોસ્ટ બનાવી દીધા છે, સો યુ વિલ બી એબલ ટુ પ્રેઝન્ટ રાઈટ?
ઓકે એટલે શેર સ્ક્રીન કરો રાઈટ?
રાઈટ. પરફેક્ટ દેખાય છે.
દેખાય છે રાઈટ?
યસ.
યસ.
ઓકે લોકો બહુ વહેલા આવી ગયા છે આજે.
જોઈન થાય છે?
હા એટલે અત્યાર જો ને 7 લોકો તો આવી ગયા છે આપણા સિવાય.
અમને નથી, હા પણ તારી પાસે છે એટલે
2 ગયા, 5 થઈ ગયા, કઈ નહીં આવશે પાછા. મેં મેસેજ મૂકી
આવશે એ લોકો પાછા.
રેકોર્ડિંગ ઓન કરી દીધું છે ને?
હા. ઓકે
આ પ્રેઝન્ટેશન મોડ છે?
યસ.
ઓકે.
રિયા ક્યાં રહી ગઈ ચેક કરો.
કોલ કરને ને કિશા.
કોલ કરું છું. હા હા.
મેં તમારું શેરિંગ હમણાં સ્ટોપ કર્યું છે.
આઈ થિંક એમને કોઈ સારું બેકગ્રાઉન્ડ આપી દે ને તો લોકોને આઈડિયા નહીં આવે કે આ લોકો હોસ્ટ છે.
હમણાં એ લોકો જ પિન થઈ જશે. જેમ હું બધાને એન્ટર કરવાના ચાલુ કરીશ ને હું એ લોકોને પિન કરી દઈશ.
ઓકે.
કેશા તને મ્યુટ જ રાખવાની છે. મેં તને અનમ્યુટ કરી. ના, મારાથી અનમ્યુટ બી નથી થતી.
થઈ ગયું.
ઓકે.
કઈ ને રિએક્ટ.
ઓકે, વી હેવ 10 in waiting. ચાલો હજુ તો બહુ બધા આવશે.
લોકો જલ્દી જોઈન કરવા લાગે.
તમને 15 જણની રિક્વેસ્ટ પેન્ડિંગ છે which you are not accepting at the moment, right?
Correct. આઈડિયા એક જ મિનિટ. ઓકે, હવે તારાથી અનમ્યુટ થશે પોતાને.
Okay. Oh, 18 people have entered waiting room.
20. Perfect. So Aditi and Anuja, તમે લોકો શાંતિથી પ્રેઝન્ટ કરજો. You have the entire stage. 30 minutes is ideal. If you go to 45, no problem. It's all yours. Okay. Just keep your pace. તમે જે બી comfortable હો. Okay.
Cool.
Arjun, one last thing. After Mehul uncle ends, it's just going to be thank you all for joining. You may leave the meeting, right?
મને મેસેજ આવે છે કે બે ડાઉટ્સ છે, પ્રોમિનન્ટ ડાઉટ્સ, કે વિડિયો ઓફ રાખી શકાય, એન્ડ ધ સેકન્ડ વન ઇઝ તમારી પાસે શું સંભળાય છે?
વિડિયો ઓફ રખાય.
હા, એન્ડ ધ સેકન્ડ વન એટલે એ તો મેં કીધું. બીજા બહુ બધા લોકોના ક્વેશ્ચન્સ આયા કે અમારી પાસે અત્યારથી ક્વેશ્ચન પ્રિપેર્ડ નથી, અમે સાંભળીશું ત્યારે. એટલે મેં પછી રિપ્લાય કર્યો કે યસ, તમે જ્યારે સાંભળશો ત્યારે જ પ્રિપેર્ડ રાખવાના છે. એટલે
ભાઈ તો અનમ્યુટ થયો. ઓકે, નાજુ તો 2 મિનિટ છે બીજી.
આપણે ક્વેશ્ચન્સ વોટ્સએપમાં મૂકશું અને રિયા ત્યાંથી વાંચશે, રાઈટ?
કરેક્ટ.
ઓકે, અને સાથે નામ બી લખશું આપણે,
યસ.
જે બી પૂછે છે એનું.
Acha, one more quick question. Just in case, like chatમાં અમુક કોઈક એવું ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ પર્સન અમને દેખાઈ ગયું જેને અમારે એડ્રેસ કરવું પડે એના ક્વેશ્ચનને, તો how are we going to do that?
I think you can just see through the chat and say, okay, we have received one interesting question, and Riya will take a pause. Okay.
ઓકે ઓકે, હા, એટલે that is only, આમ તો નહીં હોય પણ just in case હોય ને, it's sometimes you know obligations હોય કે you have to address them, so
No problem. Okay.
We start at 6:30 sharp, no?
Hi, 6:15. You start at 6:25 so that
20.
and Anuja can start at 6:15. Okay. હું બધાને એક્સેસ આપવાનું ચાલુ કરું છું.
Yep.
Cool.
वीडियो स्टार्ट कराना है, कर दूं?
કરી કાઢું તો અહીંયાથી તમે
રસલાનો અવાજ બંધ કરો. તમે કશું નતું યા ખરા છો? નહીં હવે તો બધા વેઇટિંગમાં એન્ટર બધા કરે ના કરે તમારે જોઈ લો. વિધાઉટ ઓકે, જે કરવાનું કર દો. આમાં હવે એમને બધા એ કરવાના એટલે બધા
Riya, can you request everyone to mute themselves?
हमें वो कॉल वाया डिवाइस ऑडियो डायरी नहीं ना
140 કોલ ભાઈ હવે શું કોલ કરો છો તમારે?
बोलेंगे.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. We'll be starting sharp at 6:25 with the introduction so that the speakers can start at 6:30. Please ensure that you're muted at all times so that we don't have too much background noise. Thank you for your patience.
यहाँ है नैनी वाली मोटी वाली.
We'll wait 2 more minutes. Whoever joins. Otherwise, we'll lock the meeting and start the session. Thank you for your patience.
Hi everyone. It's 6:25 and we'll start the meeting. I welcome you all on behalf of Team Camp Wanderers. Thank you for joining us this evening. Before we get going, let me introduce Camp Wanderers just briefly. It was 26 years back when Mr. Arpit Shah and his friends started this journey to the mountains. Travel, experience, learn was the main motto with which this organization was started. The specially customized itineraries designed by Camp Wanderers offer you an opportunity to absorb the culture, the local people, and the environment, to immerse yourself in the richness of a different experience, and all this while ensuring minimal environmental and ecological imprint. Over the years, many people have joined us and are now lifelong partners with this organization because of the strong bonds that we share with each of them. Our camps are not only about spending time with nature and yourself, but also creating incredible friendships that strengthen with time. Ask any of our campers and they will tell you over and over, it is the thing that we wait for all year. Traveling with us is an experience that will open your mind, connect you to an amazing community of travel enthusiasts, and show you that a couple of days in the woods, unplugged from the internet and mobile phones, can have a huge impact in your work and your life, increase your productivity, imagination, and we think cheerfulness too. Live the experience, learn new skills, understand life better. And that's exactly what we are here to do today. Now to introduce the two magnificent speakers with us here today. Aditi Vaidya, who's 25, and Anuja Vaidya, 21, plan to climb the top of the world, not because the world could see them, but because they could see the world. They became the first Gujarati sisters to scale Mount Everest and second sisters in the world to do the same. Climbing the 7 Summits program is about scaling the highest peaks in each of the 7 continents on the earth. Before going to Everest, they scaled Aconcagua of Argentina in February 2019. Aconcagua is the highest peak of South America. In August 2019, Anuja also scaled Manirang in Himachal. She has also scaled the highest peak of Europe, which is Elbrus in Russia. Both the sisters then went to climb Kilimanjaro of Africa in September. Anuja became the first Gujarati woman to summit Mount Vinson Massif of Antarctica on 15th Jan 2020. Until today, Aditi has done 3 summits and Anuja has done 6 of the 7 summits. She will now be going for the last one, that is Mount Denali in Alaska this June. Both the sisters are alumni of Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, Uttarkashi. Aditi has done BBA from BRCM College of Business Administration, followed by her MSc in International Business from Queen Mary University, London. She also undertook specialized courses in Human Resource and Corporate Business Strategy from London School of Economics. Anuja too completed her graduation and BBA from BRCM College of Business Administration. Both the sisters completed their schooling from Lord's Convent School, Surat. Now over to the amazing sisters to share their stories with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us here and for showing so much love, giving so much love to us. And today we are here to share our experience, our journey, and we hope that we are able to take you up to the mountain and back again. So, we'll be talking about the whole journey. We'll be sharing some experiences of ours. We'll be sharing how we did it and all. And later on, after we are done with the whole experience, we are very, very, very happy to answer all the questions and queries that you might have. And you can post it in the chat.
I think we'll go on with our journey, our virtual journey to Everest.
So just give me a second. We'll get the pictures on for everyone to stay on the same page.
So basically, before we went to climb Everest, as Ria told you guys already, I climbed a peak called Manirang in Himachal Pradesh in August 2018, and since then we both were into mountains till we climbed Everest. After that, we did a mountaineering course in NIM, Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, method of instruction course, and after that we went for a expedition, personal expedition to Stock Kangri. So I think you all know Stock Kangri, but
it's a peak in Leh, and it's a peak, I think it's nearly about 6,000 meters nearly, and during summers a lot of people go there to climb it. There are a lot of climbers, but during winters it is very difficult peak, and you know, there are the temperatures go down to minus 45 degrees. So we thought that we'll just, you know, attempt it. Even if we are not able to climb, we'll, you know, attempt it. So it will be a good practice for us.
Yeah. And after that, we went to climb Aconcagua, and we successfully climbed that. So basically, Aconcagua was a peak. It was our test peak. If we do very well in that, if we feel good, we might attempt Everest. And thankfully, we did well, and we climbed Everest as well. So let's go on with the
journey. Yeah. So the story of Everest is that we started, so you go from India to Kathmandu, and from Kathmandu to, there's a small village called Lukla, and Lukla is the last village where the planes can fly till, or the planes can land till. So we fly from Kathmandu to Lukla, and from Lukla, as soon as we get down off the plane, the small chartered planes, you start walking. Your trek begins to Everest. So after landing, we started off. The whole trek from Lukla to Everest Base Camp, I'm sure a lot of you must have been there also. It's a very pretty, gorgeous trek. It's very beautiful. The nature out there, the sceneries, the other mountains that you come across, which are really famous in the world of mountaineering. One of them is Amadablam. So you see beautiful mountains like those when you walk towards base camp. Now from Everest, from Lukla to Everest Base Camp, it takes, if you walk like continuously, taking one night halts, it takes 7 to 8 days. But because we had some other preoccupations before reaching, you know, Everest Base Camp, we wanted to have enough exposure. So we decided on climbing another peak. So that was like pre-Everest for us. It's a peak called Lobuche. It comes on the way to Everest Base Camp. So we climbed that also. So from Lukla to Everest Base Camp, it took us 15 days because we had to climb that. So I think
so this is our, I think we started walking from Lukla, and all the, there are many stones and rocks that are, you know, painted with these mantras. So Om Mani Padme Hum, all that is written on this. And there is a rule, when we walk through them, we don't cross them from left side, we always go from right. You are not allowed to go on the left side. And it was, there were, as she said, the route was very scenic, and there are a lot of bridges like these, and when you walk on them, you know, there's this fall and river flowing down, and I think
it's a very high bridge, and also when you look down, it's very scary, and the bridge is moving around, but it's beautiful at the same time.
And these were the tea houses that we stayed in until Everest Base Camp, and after that we stayed in tents.
So right, exactly. So like she said, so there are small, so at certain intervals, there are small villages that you have to cross. So every village has these small tea houses, and those are the houses that we spend our nights in while going from Lukla to base camp. So these were the houses that we were staying in, and it, like I already said, it was very beautiful. You can see the beautiful cherry blossom here, all very pretty. Then advancing on, so I am sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you must have heard about Namche Bazaar. It's the highest, you know, bazaar, village basically, you can say, on the way to, you know, I think it's in the world. So this is this is a top view of Namche Bazaar. So we went to a higher point than this. It was a one-day hike from Namche Bazaar to a hotel called Hotel Everest. From there, you can see Everest for the very first time. But it was a very, bad luck or whatever I can say for us, because we weren't able to see Everest because it was bad weather and there were clouds, and also we couldn't see Everest that day. Advancing further,
there was this monastery, Tengboche monastery in Tengboche village, and before we went to base camp, we had our first small puja over here, and these are all the Sherpas that we climbed with. And Sherpa is a tribe, the people living there, and they are really very strong. And I would say that it is really difficult to scale Everest without them. It is not impossible, but it is really difficult. And they are the heroes. They are really, really very strong.
So like I mentioned that we climbed Lobuche. So this here is the Lobuche base camp. So first things first, I would like just a small introduction of what base camp is. Any camp on any mountain which has availability of medical services, which can get you in touch with the world, where basic amenities, extra storage, extra things are stored and all, that kind of a camp is called base camp on any mountain. So this was Lobuche base camp, and as you can see, the weather was not very good. It was cloudy the time that we reached Lobuche base camp. And
so after that, we started to climb Lobuche, and this was our camp 1. We slept one night on base camp. Other day we hiked up and we slept down again on base camp. The third day we went up to high camp, and this is the photo of the high camp. We spent one good night here, and after that we went to climb the peak for the summit. And basically, whenever we we decide to climb any peak on the summit day, we start late at night, at 2 o'clock maybe or 3 o'clock, so that the ice is really hard and it's easy to walk on hard ice. And in mountains, people say that after 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the weather always goes bad, and we have witnessed it.
Right.
So we prefer climbing at night. This is the top of Lobuche, the summit, and this day was a really tough day because the weather was really bad. When we started, it was okay, but we reached the top at what, 9:30 in the morning. And the weather really started going bad, and we were really worried that if we might be able to see the view from the top or not. And as you can see, it's white out. You cannot see anything behind you except white clouds.
So yeah, but okay, Lobuche was another, the Lobuche top was another peak from where we could see Everest. Like we missed our first opportunity at Namche Bazaar to see Everest. Then we were hoping that we'll be able to see it from here. Although we could not get a very clear view, but we were fortunate enough to, get a glimpse of it. There was small time when, it was, the weather was clear and all, and we could see Everest finally, the mountain that we were going to climb, the main reason of us being there. So it was a very beautiful journey. And this here, she's basically rappelling down. So this technique is rappelling. A lot of you must have done it. For those who have not, this is a technique that you use on the mountains for safe and fast, descent. You can descend really fast when you rappel down. So this is her, and Lobuche Peak was all about climbing up, because it's very steep, like you can say. So there's a technique called Jumaring. So 80% of the time we were Jumaring up on Lobuche, and then we went down through rappelling. So finally, after walking for 15 long days, doing Lobuche on our way, and finally we came here. This place, on this picture, if you see the yellow dots if you all can see the yellow dots, those are the tents. So this is the aerial view of the whole base camp. Everest Base Camp is supposed to be the largest base camp in the whole world. So even while we were there, I think we were approximately 1,000 people when we were there, including the Sherpas, the staff, the porters, the climbers, everyone, the doctors, everyone. So we were 1,000 people there, and this is the aerial view of the whole base camp. So finally we were there on the base camp, Everest Base Camp.
It's like
And-
a small city.
Yeah, it's
I
like a
would say.
small city
Everest
in
city.
its own. Not the city. I think I'll call it a village where
Yeah,
there's no
maybe.
connection, no internet, nothing. So yeah, it's a village.
So this is our base camp. So we went with a company called Climbing the Seven Summits. It's a US-based company, and the owner is Mike Hemmel. Mike himself has climbed 7 summits 7 times, and he's a very experienced person. And so we selected to go with this company because because of the safety reasons, and we thought this is the best one. So this was the base camp of Climbing the 7 Summits, our company. And these were our tents. And as you can see, the weather was not good on the base camp, and there was a lot of snowfall that day.
This particular photograph is from, if you guys remember, there was this cyclone Feni that hit us all. So that time we were on Everest Base Camp. So this is the time that, Feni hit, and this was the effect that we had. So one night we sleep, the other night we wake up with half of our tents gone underneath the snow. Okay,
So I think, I don't know if every one of you knows, but we face a lot of avalanches when we are in mountains. What is the avalanche? When the whole mass of ice or snow comes down and it takes along everything, whatever is in the way with it down. And so
it
this
might
is
be
a
tents, humans,
Anything.
rocks,
Anything.
everything. So anything that comes in the way of avalanche is
Gone.
destroyed.
So this is a video of avalanche that we could see from base camp. So from Everest Base Camp, you can see so many avalanches all around, all the time.
And this particular one was a very big one, and the showers of this avalanche actually touched our tents. We could actually get the showers of the avalanche on our tents. So had we been a little bit, closer to this, we would have been swept away in it too. So lucky us.
This whole cloud that you can see are snow particles.
Yeah, there are snow particles from the avalanche. So, and base camp, when you stay on base camp, you hear thousands of avalanches every day. So like when when you're there, when you are seeing it for the first time, you are very excited, like, wow, it's an avalanche, wow, it's an avalanche. You are out, you are seeing it, you are capturing it in your video. But then, you stay there for 2 months. This whole journey was of like 2 months. So you kind of get used to it. Only sound during the nights that we could hear were these avalanches. And people coughing. Yeah.
So before we start climbing Everest, after base camp, there's this huge area called Khumbu Ice Fall. It's very famous, and it is a very risky area. So we train there for some time, but no one touches Khumbu Ice Fall before they do this puja. There's this huge puja that goes on for hours, and after that puja is completed, everyone comes together, they dance. The dance is called Sherpa dance. It's their traditional dance, and it's a long puja. It starts in the morning and it ends by
It's a
afternoon.
3-4 hours puja that we have to do. And basically the aim of the puja is to, ask Everest of its permission to climb it safely, considering Everest as holy and almighty. So that is the main aim of the puja.
And after this puja, everyone goes and trains in Khumbu Ice Fall.
So Yeah, this was the first day that we went in Khumbu Icefall, and we, as you can see, we are all geared up for our training that is going to, not training, I would rather say it's kind of brushing up of the knowledge that you already have, just to be just so that, because it was an international team and there were a lot of people from different countries, and just so that everyone is on the same page, everyone knows how we have to deal with whatever techniques that we're going to use in mountaineering. So this was just a brushing up that we were doing, everyone together, in Khumbu Icefall. And this was the first time that we entered, and we were very excited that the icefall that we have been hearing since so long, about so long, that it's very dangerous, that it's very exciting, it's pretty, there, we were standing right there.
So after we trained in the Khumbu Icefall and practiced our training, we went to Camp 1. And as I said before, even to Camp 1, we start at midnight at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so this was our first push. And so in mountaineering, there's this thing that hike high and sleep low. So we used to go to Camp 1, and the same day we used to go a little more higher, and then we used to sleep on Camp 1. And then we came back to base camp. In the second rotation, we used to go to Camp 1, we used to go to Camp 2, used to go a little more higher, and then we used to come back to the base camp. And in third rotation, we went to Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and then came back. And fourth was our summit push. So basically going up and down all the time, we call it rotations in the world of mountaineering. So this was our first rotation. We were going to cross the Khumbu Icefall for the first time and going to the Camp 1. Really excited. So this is the picture of Camp 1. And Camp 1 is covered with so many crevasses. So there was a very, very particular area that we could walk in, even in our own camp. And there was a path made, and we could just walk on that path. We were not allowed to go here and there because there were a lot of crevasses. And what's a crevasse? Crevasse is a huge gap between ice, and
it can be very meters and meters low, and it can be, when you see in it, it's like it blacks out. It is so deep and it is so wide that it blacks out, so some of them, we call them bottomless crevasses. Bottomless crevasses are those where you see the pitch black and you don't see anything else inside, and you don't know if even there's a bottom or it exists or not. And the other one is hidden crevasse. Hidden crevasse is a crevasse where there is there is this gap, there is this big huge crack in the snow, but because of fresh new snowfall, there's a thin layer that is on top of that crevasse. So it's like a trap, when you see, you don't feel that there's a crevasse or something, and you walk like it's a normal land. But as soon as you step on it, because it's a gap, the whole snow caves in and you also go in along with it. So there are two main kinds of crevasses. So there were a lot of hidden crevasses around this Camp 1. So that is why we were very restricted to certain area that we were, going to walk in. And usually from base camp to Camp 1, it takes around, I think, 6 to 7 hours to reach from, if you are really, really fast, people also reached in 5.5 hours, and then there were people who also reached in 10 hours, and usually they say there that if you cannot make it in 6 to 7 hours, it is a good thing that you back down, don't try attempting going any further.
So Camp 1 was very windy, and
it was very famous for
bad weather.
Yeah. So the blue tent is our kitchen tent, and all the black ones are the tents that we stayed in. This was the whole route from Camp 1 to Camp 2. So there was a particular area. So basically the area from Camp 1 to Camp 2, it's called Western Coombe. And there was this particular area which was very dangerous. As you can see, there's not even space to, keep two legs together. You have to keep it like one in front of the other to maintain proper balance. The whole route on Everest, it has ropes and ladders and safety things like you can see in the video. And everyone, even the Sherpas, even the guides, anyone on Everest has to compulsorily, self-anchor yourself to the ropes that are. So self-anchoring means, you have to tie yourself to the ropes that are already tied there for safety reasons. So this mountain that you are seeing here is Everest.
So this was the first time that we were seeing Everest this close,
yeah.
Because from the base camp you cannot see Everest.
Yeah, from base camp it is not visible.
So only when you go to Camp 1 and further you can see Everest. And this was a very
we got an adrenaline rush when we saw this.
Yeah, it was a very weird and very exciting moment for us because the peak that we were going to climb was in front of us, and it was huge. It was huge.
It was big, massive.
So we are going to Camp 2. So the route to Camp 2.
So in the whole Khumbu as well, there were a lot of places where we had to cross those crevasses that we mentioned, and we were using ladders to cross those crevasses. And this is one of the videos where you will be able to see how deep the crevasse can be and how we were crossing it.
As you can see, there are two safety anchors that we have attached so that even if you have to take one out to change the rope, you never take out the another one. So you are never detached from the rope. This was really scary, and walking on with crampons, the spikes that you can see, it was really tough because sometimes when we were walking, it would be slippery or, it would get stuck in between the rugs.
No, I'll take time.
Even though we knew that we are very safe, we are attached with the safety lines and all, but still it was very scary that in case we lose the balance, we knew that we'll be hanging on these ropes when we fall. But still, it was so scary because when you see down, there was no base. So, those times when things are not black and white, they are gray also. This was one of those times that we knew that we are safe, but yet we were feeling very, very unsafe there.
This was the Camp 2, and Camp 2 was considered to be a very beautiful camp because when you see on one side, you can see the base camp and the whole valley, and when you see the other side, you can see Everest. And there's this other peak called Lhotse. That's the 4th highest peak in the world, and many people go there to climb that peak too. And it's a very beautiful place to be on. And the weather here changes in seconds. If you are in tent and the sun is shining, you will be so hot, you will want to remove all your clothes. But within seconds, if there is cloud in front of sun, it will be so cold. It changes in seconds. So after Camp 2, we were 24/7 on oxygen. And this is our way from Camp 2 to Camp 3 because on Everest Base Camp, here we breathe oxygen and it's 50% less than what we breathe here on Everest Base Camp. And as we go further, and to go to Camp 3, we have to cross this Lhotse face, and the Camp 3 is itself on the Lhotse face, and it is a very, very steep face. And it's really tough to walk on it because it's so steep and you are on that face for really long time.
This is the Lhotse phase that we were talking about. And as you can see, the ice here is very, you can feel the texture just by looking at the picture, that it's very glossy and it's very slippery. Plus it had like hard ice on it, and there were pebbles, with those in that. So when during, I would say 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the morning itself, when the sun would come up, and if someone would be climbing on Lhotse face, we had to be really careful. There were incidents when our, guides, Sherpas, and other members from the whole climbing community of ours that we were there at that time, a lot of people got hurt. Why? Because the sun came up, the ice started to melt, and the small pebbles and the snow they started falling, getting loose and falling off. So what happened was that when we were climbing, and if that small pebble would start falling, this Lhotse face is very long and very steep, so it would get acceleration, so it would come very fast, and it would hit you so bad that you have to abandon the whole expedition right away. So there were times when people got hurt, and they had to be evacuated and sent back to the hospitals. And this is the phase, like I said, this is a very long phase, and this is where we established our camp 3 as well. So like you can see, it's a steep gradient. So how were we supposed to, pitch our tents in this kind of gradient? So what we did was,
the camp 3 was supposed to be the most difficult camp to establish, because after we reached the camp, we had to dig the area and make a flat platform, and then we had to pitch our own tents over there. And it was very risky as well, because of the snow. If avalanche strikes, there's nothing you can do.
So it became a bit tough also. And another thing was that you had to be very careful. So like say at night you want to go to the bathroom or anywhere out. So what happened was you had to be very careful while coming out of the tent, because as soon as you step out of the tent, there's a slope. So you would go down meters and meters away. Like no one is going to even be able to catch you. So it was one of the riskiest camps that we had. After camp 3 on Lhotse phase, this is camp 4.
That is also known as South Col, and it is called South Col because Col is a place, a ground in between 2 mountains, 2 high peaks, and as you can see, one side was Everest and one side was Lhotse. And so this place is called South Col, and it's on the south side of Everest.
Yeah. So Everest can be climbed from two sides. One is the China side, that is the north side, and one is the south side, that is the Nepal side. And we chose the route from Nepal because it was a traditional route from where Everest was climbed for the first time by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. So that is why we chose. And this camp, as you can see, has a lot of oxygen cylinders. So this is the final camp, and anything above camp 3, what people try to do, the mountaineers try to avoid the time spent over camp 3 as less as possible. You have to make sure that you don't spend more time over camp 3 because the height is above 7,000 meters, and anything above 7,000 meters is called as dead zone because of the oxygen levels. So oxygen here must be almost 70% less so only 30% of what we are breathing here. So that is why you try to avoid the time you spend on camp 3 and above camp 3. So this is again a top view of South Col. You can see those small yellow dots. That is the whole camp 4, South Col.
This was the last camp, as Aditi said, and we started for our summit. Usually we start at night, but because there were a lot of people, and usually traffic jam happens on Everest, and we know about it. And so we started a little early. We started at 5:30 in the evening, and we reached the top at 5:30 in the morning. So in between, there are only 3 places that you can rest, take rest, and one is called Balcony. After Camp 4, there's this place called Balcony where you can rest. There's no place before that to rest. After Balcony, there is South Summit. Yeah. So from Camp 4, you cannot see the actual summit of Everest, but you can see the South Summit of Everest. So after Balcony, you can take rest on South Summit, and after South Summit, there is the top.
Yeah, the top. So yeah, so this was finally our summit night had come. 21st May in the evening we started for the summit. The thing was last year a lot of photographs were going around about this big traffic jam that happened on Everest, and there were a lot of controversies. There were a lot of questions regarding it. So what basically happened was, on any mountain, what happens is we only have 2 or 3 days that you see the weather, how the weather is going to be on the top of that mountain, and you try to summit it that day. So for Everest this year, I think we had 3 or 4 days. We call them weather windows. So we had 3 or 4 weather windows this time for climbing Everest. And there was this particular one that is on the 21st May, I will say. So that one was, supposed to be a very good one. And another one was on 22nd. So there were 2 windows simultaneously, 21st and 22nd. So we chose 21st, that we want to climb on 21st, and that is why we planned the whole thing such that on 21st we are on the top. But when we reached Camp 4 on 20th we reached, right? 20th, when we reached Camp 4, the weather was really bad. It was snowing, it was white out, very, very bad, and there was no way that we could climb in that weather. If we did, either we would come back, injured with some cold injuries, or we might not be able to, make it to the top, or we might not be able to come back. So it was a very bad day, and like I already mentioned, that we try to spend as much time, like as less time as possible above Camp 3. We had to decide on what to do. So if we decide on not climbing on that day, that really meant that we had to spend that night on Camp 4. Now the whole team got together. We all sat. We had a very nice, healthy discussion on what we should do. Like, there might be a chance that on 22nd also the weather would stay the same, and then we would have to go down. And this was like the last day. Like, it was our summit. The whole 2 months we had spent, we were, we had utilized, we had worked hard, we had reached till here, and it was the matter of that one day. But that one day would either cost us success or our life. So it was a decision that we had to really,
It was a very tough decision to make for all of us, because it might have happened that on 22nd we would not even get to attempt, and we just had to go back because we had to count on oxygen bottles that we had and everything. So
right. And on this height, there are no helicopters. If something happens to you, you walk back down or someone carries you down. That is it. There are no helicopters on this height. Even on Camp 3, there are no helicopters. So only long lines. So basically they hang a rope through helicopters. So that is called long line. So either a long line is done, or on Camp 4, there is no helicopter. Helicopter can land only till Camp 2. So now the decision was very crucial. Plus, we had to count on our oxygen bottles, which were very limited. Obviously, there was no shop or anything. Like, we had calculated each and everything, and small things, very, the weight. So say 5 kg if you are carrying on that height, it feels like those 5 kgs are not 5, but they are 15 kgs. So the weight just doubles up. It multiplies. So we had to be very, I don't know what to call it, but it was a very difficult time for us. But then we decided that, life is very important. So summit is obviously it is important, and obviously we want to do it. We have worked so hard. We have been here 2 months. We have spent everything of ours, hard work, everything. But if we don't live to cherish what we are going to get, then what is the meaning of achieving it? So then we decided that we are going to stay there one night and we are going to watch so other day we'll get ready, we'll get dressed up and all, and we'll decide whether to go up or to go down. But one night we'll be spending there and the other day we'll decide. So then on the other day, we waited till afternoon.
Yeah.
But the weather was still the same. And as soon as evening started approaching, we could see that the weather is slowly clearing out. And what happened was the other members the other climbers who had decided on climbing on 22nd, they had also come up by that time, right? So that is why that whole traffic jam happened. And luckily on 22nd, we got a nice weather and every one of us started going up. And that is why this year so many people were together, because usually they are divided in other, days, windows and all. But this time it was all on one day because of this situation.
So this year was one of the deadliest year on Everest in history. Like there were so many deaths.
Yeah,
11 deaths
in total this year on Everest.
And we don't even know how many injuries of frostbite and all. So morning 5:30, we were on top of Everest.
Top of the world. It was a beautiful feeling.
It was a dream come true for us as well as our parents.
The first thought.
So the first thought was of our parents, because both our parents are mountaineers as well, and it was their dream as well. I mean, I think every mountaineer dreams of climbing Everest.
Yeah, I mean, it's a top of the world.
Yeah,
so who doesn't want to be there? So it's a dream come true, obviously. Yeah. So we were very happy.
Just can't put that feeling
into
words.
And the view was beautiful. It was really
taking.
Like you can see here in this picture, it's pretty much visible. So I usually say that the proof who has been out there, so amongst us, who has been out there to see that the earth is really round or not. But this picture kind of reveals that yes, the earth is round in shape. You can see the spherical, shape of earth.
Now our descending journey begins. So this phase this is after Camp 3. So it is between Camp 4 and Camp 3. And this particular patch is called Yellow Band. And it's very rocky. And as you can see, the rock is yellowish. And when you see it from far, it looks yellow. And so this area is called Yellow Band. And it is very difficult to walk on this because when you're walking, everything is covered into snow, and suddenly this patch comes, which is rocky, and you cannot remove the crampons, the spikes that we are wearing. They are called crampons, and you cannot remove it just for this patch. And when you walk on snow with crampons, it's okay, you are going good. But when you walk on rock, it is really not comfortable. It's slippery, and your crampons also.
They kind of slip
and so on the way, some people we knew, or they were just fellow climbers. They were on base camp with us, and they could not come back down, and they expired on the way. And this was a body of a person that we had to cross, and this was I think one of the toughest moment that we faced on our climb. And this person was there to climb Lhotse, the peak next to Everest that I was talking about, and they summited the peak. They wanted to climb it without oxygen, and they summited it successfully. They came back down to Lhotse Camp 4, that is between Everest Camp 4 and Camp 3. But they did. I would not call it. I mean,
it was just a negligence
Yeah.
or something that didn't even have
Yeah.
extra oxygen,
Oxygen
like
bottle.
spare oxygen, just in case something
Just in
happens.
case, yeah. Just in case of emergency, they didn't keep an oxygen bottle. So they suffered. This guy suffered from cerebral edema, and he expired on Camp 4 of Lhotse. And on Everest, you cannot take the body down immediately because there are no. At this height, the helicopter doesn't go, and if it is so difficult to walk yourself down, and just imagine you have to carry someone else and walk down. So it's a whole another level. So they do take the body down as they can, but it takes a little time, a few days.
Few days,
Yeah.
few months,
Few
maybe
months,
a few years
years.
as well.
Yeah.
So we also had, we were a team of 24, and by the time we decided to attempt Everest, so till base camp we were 24. After base camp, slowly people started, going back. Someone was homesick, someone was not well, so people started, giving up, and we were then 16, and 16 of us attempted Everest, and all the 16 made it. But on our way back, I wouldn't call it, accident or something, but it was just a natural thing that happened. We lost one of our members, and he suffered heart attack. And he was on Camp 4 on South Col. So there was no helicopter, and it was very tough getting him down. So we had to leave him up there, and we were supposed to get him, get his body down this year. But obviously this year as well, because of Corona and the pandemic going on around, the mountains are closed, and we are not going to be able to get him down. So let's hope for next year. But that is one of the things. So these things are things that break you down emotionally. You really get
Disturbed.
mentally
Yeah.
disturbed. So it is very important. So climbing
Yeah.
mountains.
So climbing mountains you have to be physically strong, no doubt, but you have to be mentally strong as well. And I think mentally you have to be a little more stronger than
you are
physically. So this was us after we came to the base camp
Yeah.
the next day.
We were
Next
very
morning
happy
and-
that we submitted. We were very happy that we are back at the base
Safe.
camp, safe, with all our hands, with all our legs, toes, everything. So
Just our
Just
skins,
yeah,
our
we just had
tan.
little.
burns, sunburn and windburn.
So we call them kiss from Everest. So it's a kiss of Everest. Okay, so a lot of people, enlighten them about frostbite, please.
Yeah. So frostbite is something that happens when you are exposed to extreme cold, and this is what it looks like if it is degree 4. So it comes in degrees. 1 degree, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 is the worst, that you have to cut off that part of your body because it forms kind of gangrene, blood clot, and it spreads if you don't cut it off. So this is a level 4 frostbite that happened to a teammate of ours.
Yeah, and he had this frostbite, and unfortunately it was 4th degree frostbite, and they could not treat it. So later on he had to get his thumb cut off, and I think he had it in both his legs and his hands, but fortunately his hands were okay, they were recovered, but he couldn't save his, so the doctors couldn't save his thumb.
So after we climbed Everest, the journey of this almost 2 months, we came back to Kathmandu, Nepal, and our parents were there to receive us, and this was one of the happiest moments for us.
Right there.
Yeah,
So
we
after
couldn't wait to see them, and I think it was the same for them because they are mountaineers and they knew where they are sending us, what can happen, what can go wrong, and what can go right. And yeah,
it was a
So-
beautiful moment that we were back successful. Like we said, we were back, we were safe, and when we started off with this expedition, we were very excited about everything. We did everything very happily. We got equipments, this, that, training, everything. And they came to
drop us to Nepal.
as
And-
well.
And we were there with them for a few days in Nepal before we started climbing Everest, and everything was going well. We were meeting the team, meeting new people. We were so happy. And then morning we sat in the bus and we had to leave them and wave the final goodbye for the climb. That was the
time
moment.
that it struck us that we don't know if we
What's
are going to
gonna
see
happen.
them again or not. We don't know if we are coming back or not. We don't know if we are. It was a very emotional moment for us, but so this was equally emotional when we got to see them back
Again.
together, and we were very happy about it. So this was a grand welcome that we got in Surat. So while we did this whole thing, Everest, when we came back, we summited, and like we said, we lost one of our team members, and there were a lot of people around us who are our friends, who were in hospitals, who were in pain. So when we were in Nepal, even though we had summited, there was the feeling about summit was not entirely happy. It was happiness, but then it was more of I don't know.
We were thinking about the people that
Yeah,
couldn't
our
make
friends.
it back, who were in the hospitals, and so it was happy, emotional, sad. It was
a mixed feeling, but it
yeah.
was I think it was more of
More of
sad,
sad,
particularly. So we were very sad until the time we came. We entered out of the Surat airport, and we saw them, these people, the media, the friends, family, everyone welcoming us, standing there for us, waving at us. So this was the time that we actually felt that yes, we have conquered it, we have achieved it.
This was a wonderful feeling. And all this, like the whole credit goes to our parents and family for supporting us so much for all this, and it was only possible because of them that we could do this and giving us this opportunity.
So
Preparing
it
us
was
mentally and
physically for them to first of all
Yeah.
take a call to send both of us together, because a lot of people, they got advices from a lot of people saying that
Do
don't
not
send both
of them
the
together.
girls together. If you want to send one by one. And things like that. There were a lot of people who told us that you are wasting your father's money. What are you going to get out of Everest? But this here is something we earn for life, some experience that we got for life, and no other schools, colleges, no
Nothing
other
else
courses,
can buy
nothing
this.
can teach you what nature can teach you, and what Everest taught us was something that we are going to cherish for the whole life. All the hard work that you have to put in for everything. In today's life, looking at the stress around us, like just looking at this pandemic that's going on and the lockdown that we are into, everyone is frustrated that we are not able to go out. But why not try, putting this time into something productive? Usually in your daily life, you don't get time to for yourself,
For
to
your
look
family.
at yourself, for your family. So why not spend this time with your family, with even if not family, yourself. So this is what nature taught us. A lot of things. One of the things was this, that you should learn to deal with whatever situation you are in. The more positively you are going to look out at the world or the situations, the more positive things you are going to get out of it. The more you'll crib about it, that it is, you cannot do anything about it. It's a lockdown and it has to be that way. So either you keep cribbing about it, or you do something productive, do something better, and make your life better. So these are some things that nature teaches you, and that is what we actually got from Everest, I must say. I think I hope
we were able to take you to the top and get you back. So we would love to answer your questions.
Yeah, so all the questions, just shoot them at us, and we really had a very nice time, describing the whole journey.
It took us
Personally,
back.
we were on top and back again, because this was the time that we were in that journey last year. We were there on Everest last year at this time.
This
So
day.
yeah,
Maybe we were doing our rotations.
yeah, we were on Kumbu Ice Fall maybe. So yeah. So we are very glad. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Wanderers,
Camp Wanderers.
for having us here.
To hear your experience, Aditi and Anuja, was an incredible journey even for us. I think I had goosebumps here, and I'm sure many of us did. Congratulations! This was a giant victory. So we will have a Q&A session right after the concluding remarks. For the concluding remarks, I'd like to invite Mr. Mehul Shah to share his thoughts on today's session. Mr. Mehul, by profession, is a lawyer practicing in Gujarat High Court as well as Supreme Court, but he has always been very passionate about adventure. Details can be a session on its own, but to tell you all in brief, the flourishment of the youth hostel, the Gujarat chapter, has been a relentless effort of Mr. Shah over the decades. Over to you, Mr. Mehul Shah, and after that, we'll have the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please type it to us in the chat and we'll take it up. Thank you.
A great session on behalf of all the viewers. First of all, I would say that we are thankful to Wanderers and Mr. Arpit Shah to organize such meaningful talk in these lockdown days, where positive thoughts and positive energy is very much needed. We are very much thankful to Aditi and Anuja for sharing their unbelievable adventure with us. We all viewers are feeling very proud about you, Aditi and Anuja. By watching photos and videos, we could feel the great thrill. हमको जैसे ऐसा लगे, हमको ऐसा लगा कि just we thought that we also climbed the summit. लेकिन अच्छा हुआ कि आप हमको टॉप पे भी ले गए और आप हमको वापस भी लाए. नहीं तो बहुत डर लगता था कि हम वापस आएंगे कि नहीं. Very much congratulations, आपको बहुत अभिनंदन. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि आपको पेरेंट्स को सबसे ज्यादा अभिनंदन और कांग्रेचुलेशन बोलना चाहिए, बिकॉज इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर पेरेंट्स टू सेंड टू डॉटर्स टुगेदर टू माउंट एवरेस्ट, जहां उनको बीइंग एडवेंचर पीपल उनको मालूम है कि दोनों वापस आएंगे कि नहीं आएंगे, और फिर भी वो दोनों डॉटर को साथ में भेजना मेरे हिसाब से दैट वाज अ ग्रेट. सो आपको पेरेंट्स को भी हम सब व्यूअर्स सलाम करते हैं. मुझे लगता है आई रिक्वेस्ट अर्पित भाई दैट अगेन व्हेन दिस लॉकडाउन पीरियड इज ओवर यू शुड ऑर्गेनाइज such talk in Ahmedabad, maybe at town hall or some big place, and we have to hear them again with photographs and videos, because it was great experience, thrilling experience. We are aware that you are the first two sisters of Gujarati two sisters and world's second two sisters to reach Mount Everest, and it is so difficult. क्योंकि हम छोटा मोटे जो ट्रेक्स है वो अर्पित भाई के साथ में करते हैं, को मालूम है कि हाउ सो मच डिफिकल्ट इट इज. और जब माउंट एवरेस्ट की बात आती है, माउंट एवरेस्ट बेस कैंप जाना भी कई लोगों के लिए ड्रीम होता है, और आपने कितना इजी बताया कि वो कैंप 1 कैंप 2, लेकिन वो वीडियो में एसी हॉल में बैठ के अच्छा लगता है, लेकिन वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट यू एक्सपीरियंस दैट मोमेंट. और जो पॉजिटिवनेस जो चाहिए, जो अभी लॉकडाउन में भी चाहिए, ऐसे कि जो पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड, आपने सही कहा कि मेंटली जो है वो ज्यादा फिटनेस चाहिए. फिजिकल फिटनेस तो लोग अचीव कर सकते हैं, लेकिन वहाँ मेंटल जो एक पावर चाहिए, एक विल पावर चाहिए, वो सही में होना चाहिए. आप दोनों को देख के ऐसा लगता नहीं कि आप माउंट एवरेस्ट जाके आए हैं, लेकिन सचमुच इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि सभी लोग, जो जितने भी लोग यहाँ व्यूअर्स है जो एडवेंचर करते हैं, जब उनके बच्चे कहेंगे कि हाँ हमने अर्पित भाई के यहाँ 5-6 ट्रेक्स कर दिए, अभी हमको भी माउंट एवरेस्ट जाना है, तो certainly they can give your example that if Aditi can do it, if Anuja can do it, that at least we can also attempt. So we are on behalf of all the viewers, we are again thankful to you, and it was great session. Thank you Arpit bhai, and thank you Aditi and Anuja. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mehul uncle. Thank you. So now is the time for questions. We've received many, and we're starting with a couple. So like you said, Aconcagua was your first test run to climb the Everest, right? But can you tell us a little more about your training period and like the intensity of training before you actually started climbing any of these peaks?
Yeah, so basically we have been doing this since childhood, like since when I was 6 and she was,
I would sorry, but when we were 6 months old, maybe even before that, so mom and dad used to go on treks on mountains, carry us on those carry bags, and also that, so since such age we have been into mountains, and obviously then later on when we started working and all. So I think what she was saying was about our first
about our first climb, first expedition that we went with our parents, and I was 6 and she was 9. And so that's how we started off, and then we never stopped.
We reached till 17,000 that time.
Yeah, we could not summit the peak, but we reached till 17,000 feet. And the peak was 18,000, I think.
18,500.
Yeah. So we were short by a little few feet.
So yeah, after that, so that is how it all started, and we go for a lot of treks, for a lot of expeditions and all, and then later on, as we advanced in the field, we started knowing about courses, and my parents, they have already done all the courses, so we had good. We didn't need any coach or anyone from outside. We had it at home, our own parents, whom we idolize a lot. So we knew everything from them. So they guided us very well. We went through all the professional mountaineering courses offered in India. And trust me, India has the best, what can I say, infrastructure. Like Himalayan ranges are the best ranges in the world if you want to climb. They offer any height, any difficulty, different kind of climates, different kind of snow conditions, eye conditions, everything you can find in Himalayan ranges. So we have a very big asset in our country itself, and all the institutes, the mountaineering institutes, are located at different places all over India. So we did ours was Nehru Institute of Mountaineering in Uttarakhand, right in heart of Himalaya. So that is where we did our courses from. After doing those courses, we went for different expeditions and all. Like you already said in the introduction that she went for Manirang. After that, we did our one course that was left, and then we planned Stock Kangri. Then after that, we planned Aconcagua, and then it was Everest. So for us, it was not a certain period of time or something. It was our whole life that we dedicated to climb Everest.
Right. So there is a question from Mr. Anand Ahuja. He says, I've done peaks like Chandratal, Brigu, Hanuman Tiba. How much tougher is Mount Everest than this?
Well, no peak is easy. Every peak has its own, challenges to face. So we cannot really compare Everest to other peaks, but just the height,
altitude.
Everest is difficult because of its altitude, because of the height. No other peak has that height, obviously.
So that is one of the thing. I think you face so every, like she said, every mountain has different difficulties. So Hanuman Tibba is a moderate peak as well. So I can't. Everest, if I go to see like that, is not very, it has certain technical aspects. It does have it, like Khumbu Icefall, the whole thing is technical. You have to know Jumaring and other techniques. So,
but it's not throughout technical.
Yeah, it's not throughout technical. Yeah. So I think we can't really compare.
Because there are peaks that are not as high as Everest, but they are so tough. They are so technically tough. So we cannot compare.
Only thing about Everest is dealing with altitude.
Right. So we have a question from Ms. Hetal. She says, how did you both balance studies and the climbing expeditions that you're always on?
Okay, we have different point of views on that. Well, so I would say mine. So as much as I like mountaineering, I have always liked studying as well. I was not like, I wouldn't say in school time I was a ranker or something like that, but I used to like it. It was not something that I used to hate. So I pretty much had very good time. And further on, when I had subjects of my interest, I was very well able to balance it, because it was like in colleges when we had summer breaks, in schools when we had summer breaks, we used to go for mountaineering, and that is the time that actual mountaineering things happen. So even if there were projects and all, I was particularly able to balance both the projects as well as mountaineering, and that is how it went on for me.
Well,
yeah.
Basically, I have always been into sports. I have always been inclined towards sports, any kind of sports. In school, I was, name it and I was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She's an athlete as well, so.
Yeah. And when in college and all, so these courses are run under Army, and it is, they are really tough courses, and you have to prepare to go to a course, because we have seen so many people who just come back because they cannot complete the course. It is that tough. And they are a month-long courses, and not all the vacations are long. And every time I went for a course, the school or college gave me a hard time, and they did not give me permissions. They did not give me attendance. They were like, we won't let you sit in the exams. And parents had to go and talk to them, but they would not, because it's not in the guidelines of the university, they would not allow us. But we tried to explain it to them, but they did not understand. And that's where I really faced problems. But I did the courses anyway, because where there's a will, there's a way.
Right. So
Worked.
we have many other questions, but I'll just like to thank the viewers for their patience and their interest. I can see smiles and awes everywhere. So thank you for being very engaged. We will still continue with the Q&A. And because we have exceeded the time limit, yeah, sorry, you were saying something, Aditi, Anuja? Yeah, okay. So our next question is, how much, if you could shed light on it, how much would the CTSS program take financially, roughly? So climbing the 7 summits.
So we would like to say, like, for Everest, there are so many companies that take you to climb Everest, and you have to tie up with one of them. And there are companies who will take you for 18 lakhs, 20 lakhs. There are companies who will take you for 30, 35, 40, 50, depends how much is your capacity then. But we would say that you should go with a company, at least who is taking, you have to pay 30 lakhs minimum to go with a good company, because Everest is a place where you want your safety to be guaranteed, because you don't know if if you go with some other company who does not have good Sherpas or who does not have good logistics, and you go there and you do not have extra oxygen bottles to spend a night on Camp 4, there's nothing you can do. So if you are investing so much time and money and everything, we suggest that go with a good company and who guarantees your safety. And I think that will, if you add everything, it will cost minimum 30 lakhs.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so for our next question, this is a interesting new question from Mr. Pauline Patel. Did you find any creatures or any life on the route, flora, fauna?
Yes, up till certain point, like the tree line that we say, we did find, it is, so we went from Nepal, and because it is a part of Himalayas, it was similar to what you're going to find here in, Indian Himalayas. It was very much similar, the flowers, but it was at very lower height, right where, so like Lukla, Lukla we had it, and then the picture from monastery that we showed you, that was, I think, the tree line. I think that was the area after which there was no other flora, fauna. After base camp, like even up till base camp, I wouldn't say it, lasts.
Right. Another interesting question is from Mr. Joy, and this was something I was wondering also. Who manages the photography? How do you have special devices, etc.?
So photography it's a good question, and it's really difficult to manage. Well, we did it for ourselves, but it is very tough because you have to save battery. That battery has to last for how many days? 2 months. We were in mountains and for all the time, and you don't get to charge there. And we are wearing big mittens, big gloves, so it is very difficult to handle camera or touch your phone. It's not gonna work there. So I think GoPro is the best option. We used GoPro, and still it was very tough to click the button with those big mittens. You keep on trying it and it won't click. And so to save the battery, we used to keep the batteries in our jackets, inner pocket of our jackets, so that it does not get cold and it remains warm, and that way the battery won't drain.
Yeah, the body heat, it keeps it warm. So that is how we use. And obviously we had extra batteries with us just in case. And phones are a very bad option.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
phones are a very bad
As soon as you take them out, and obviously because the temperature there was like minus 50, on top at least it was minus 50 degrees. So you don't expect the phones to even function there. So as soon as I took off, there was a moment when I wanted to take a picture and GoPro was with her and I really needed it. So I just took off my phone and I thought that I'll just click a picture and put it inside quickly. But the minute I took it out, switch off. So
and it's not a very wise idea because you have to take your gloves off to operate the phone, and you can get frostbite due to that. So it's not a very preferable idea. But we tried to figure out a way. So we used to unlock our phone with our nose so that we don't have to take off our gloves, and then turn on the camera and you can always click from side buttons.
Right. So Mr. Anand Ahuja writes that he really enjoyed this. He wanted to know a little bit about your mental preparation, if there was any special effort there. And he wants to know if you write blogs or where he can access content. So maybe you want to tell them about your Instagram.
Yeah. So we have a page of our own, Get Set Adventure. So it's on Instagram, get.set.adventure. And you can ask any questions there, or if you need any help related to this, we will be very happy to help and guide you for that. So, and
we don't really, write blogs and all, but on Get Set Adventure, the photos and all that we put, and the captions that we write, they are not stolen from somewhere or something. We write it from what we feel about that. So
what we experienced at that particular moment, we try to write that. And for mental preparation, we gave a lot of self-talks before. So basically, before going to climb Everest, actually, we climbed it so many times in our head. When we were here, we used to
think of the extremes, like the worst, what can happen,
go wrong.
What would go wrong, and what would you do when it goes wrong up there. So talk to yourself, calm yourself down, and so most important is being positive. That is one thing I would say, that don't lose it. That is very important in normal life also. Don't think that you are not able. Anything that you say you cannot do it, you cannot do it, because you say you cannot do it. So if you say you can do it, you are going to be able to do anything.
So
great. Finally, this one last question. What is your goal now after achieving the ultimate?
So as you said before, Ria, we are on our mission to 7 summits, and I did 6 of them and she did 3 of them until now. Well, my one more is left, that's Denali in Alaska. I was supposed to go this June, but because of Corona and all, now it's postponed to next year. And so that's the goal for now, and we might start up our own company.
That's great.
But one thing I would like to say is a major life goal for us would be you know, learning from these things and making one thing sure that whatever we want in life, whatever it may be personal, it may be professional, it may be anything, you know, just try and achieve it no matter what. And no matter what, don't give up. Just keep on trying. It will happen. I mean, it's not, if nothing is impossible, it can happen. You just have to, you know, if one way you can find it blocked, then you have to find another way around it. Maybe it might be a longer way, but I'm sure you are going to be able to get it. So that is one thing you can say, it's a goal to achieve whatever we want in life.
I think we'll end at this positive note. I have found my personal inspiration in you guys, and I think a lot of us have done. People are clapping since everyone's mute, but thank you very much for joining us. This was a pleasure, and I think Camp Wanderers will continue to host such sessions. It's amazing that we have 76 participants till the very end at 7:45. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Anuja. Thank you, Camp Wanderers. Thank you, everyone, for joining and being a very good audience.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for such love. We was glad, we were very happy, and we would love to, you know, present ourselves again.
Yes.
Maybe next time personally over there or something.
100%. Guys, please go and follow Get Set Adventure for updates from them. Follow Camp Wanderers for further sessions. And let's start somewhere. Let's start climbing smaller peaks and then maybe get to Everest someday. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Mm.